Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are embarking on a truly incredible biological journey. We're going to trace the sprawling 120-day lifespan of literally the most widely grown crop in the entire history of human civilization. Yep, we're talking about wheat. It covers more land on Earth than any other food crop, yet, honestly, almost nobody has ever actually stopped to watch what happens between a simple seed going into the ground and the creation of that iconic, sweeping, golden field swaying in the wind.
So the crucial point is 3.5 billion. That is the massive, almost incomprehensible stake of this whole agricultural process. This single plant feeds an estimated 3.5 billion people every single day. Just think about that for a second. Half the human population relies entirely on this step-by-step journey we are about to explore. Which really brings us to a pretty profound question. Have you ever actually thought about where your bread begins? We interact with this plant constantly, right? It's in our morning toast, our favorite bowl of pasta, our celebration cakes. But there is this massive disconnect between our dinner tables and the magnificent agricultural science happening out there in those fields. Today, we are going to bridge that gap completely.
Okay, let's dive into this. The biological journey of wheat unfolds step by step across 4 overarching stages: germination, tillering, head formation, and ripening.
Stage 1, the hidden root race, the first 48 hours underground.
So we start off by plunging straight underground into the dark, rich soil. And the clock starts the absolute second that seed hits the earth. Down there in the darkness, the seed germinates with this explosive, sudden energy. It's a completely silent but incredibly intense biological trigger. The seed cracks open and bam, the entire growth process instantly fires on all cylinders.
Right away, the roots race outward. In just the first 48 hours, these fine white roots emerge and furiously push through the earth in multiple directions. And here is something truly staggering. If you laid the roots of just one single mature wheat plant end to end, they could literally stretch for several miles. Crazy, right? These fine root hairs rapidly extend, anchoring the plant and furiously searching out water and nutrients in the soil.
But it's not just about digging down. It is also about finding the light. While those roots are racing through the dark, a pale green shoot tip emerges from the top of the seed. It begins furiously pushing upward, fighting gravity, muscling through the dirt, desperately reaching for the surface to finally find the warmth of the sun.
Stage 2, tillering, multiplying the harvest.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the incredible multiplication process known as tillering. We're above ground now, in the bright spring sunlight. Tillering is this fascinating process where a single green shoot continuously splits at its base into multiple upright shoots, and each one is destined to bear grain. Just think about that. From just one single seed, the plant miraculously splits itself to multiply its yield and feed more people. It is a highly effective survival strategy. Mechanically, here's how this step-by-step agricultural tutorial unfolds. First, that initial single shoot splits right at the base. Then, multiple upright tillers spread outward simultaneously. As they grow rapidly taller, these long, narrow, blade-like leaves unfurl in a beautiful sequence. You can really visualize the crop becoming denser and denser out in the open field as these fresh green stalks multiply. And the wild part? Every single one of these new shoots is gearing up to produce its very own grain head. Stage 3, head formation, the natural assembly line.
At this point, the wheat plant is basically functioning like a highly efficient natural factory, pulling together sunlight, water, and soil to meticulously manufacture the food we eat. Let's break down this assembly line process. First, the tops of those green stalks visibly begin to swell. That's actually the pressure of the grain heads pushing up from within the leaf sheath. Then, in an accelerated motion, they emerge right into the open air. The individual husks visibly form along the entire length, and those fine hair-like bristles, which are known as awns, push outward to catch the warm, late spring sunlight.
And get this, every single one of those heads emerging from the tillers can carry up to 50 individual grains. 50! When you multiply that by the sheer number of tillers that came from just one single seed, you really begin to understand the breathtaking efficiency of this plant. It is perfectly designed for mass production.
Stage 4. The golden transformation, from green stalks to golden harvest.
And this brilliantly illustrates the visual climax of our whole journey. Over 120 days, we see this dramatic, sweeping shift as the frenetic, rapid-fire energy of that early growth finally slows down. On one side, you have the green stalks growing vertically, swelling with new grain, feeling light, fresh, and totally upright. But contrast that with the transformation into a golden harvest, shifting almost overnight to a rich, ripe amber color. The heads are now so incredibly heavy with dense, fully formed grains that they're physically bowing under their own weight, creating this beautiful rippling motion as they sway softly in the warm harvest breeze.
Let's move to and see how this builds on a timeline. Day 1 started with just a single seed planted in the bare, dark soil. By day 2, we witnessed that furious, intense underground root race shooting off in multiple directions. Fast forward to day 40, and the plant was tillering, spreading its shoots to multiply the harvest in the bright spring sun. And finally, on day 120, we arrive at those sweeping, beautiful golden harvest fields. This brilliant timeline really compresses a monumental, sprawling journey right into one cohesive visual story of scale and survival.
Somewhere in this field is the beginning of something on your table tonight. I really want you to let that quote sink in for a moment. That sweeping golden field we just looked at, it isn't just a beautiful nature landscape. It is the literal, direct starting point for the loaf of bread you buy, the bowl of pasta you cook for dinner, or that piece of cake you have for a celebration. Every single bite begins exactly right here.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Will you ever look at your food the same way again? The next time you sit down to eat, I hope you remember this 120-day golden journey. Remember the explosive hidden root races and those incredible splitting stalks that actually made that meal possible?